The smog lingered heavy over Compton at dawn, pressing down on every breath as Elijah, 25, gripped a worn piece of paper in his pocket. Its ink had dulled with time, yet the message still cut clear. Meet me tonight, Jay. His pulse quickened with equal parts fear and anticipation. Each step along the fractured sidewalk felt like a decision. Should he stay hidden, keeping the comfort of family, or risk it all for freedom? Today, the truth would find him, even if it cost everything. Elijah's boots scraped against the uneven pavement, the folded note weighing more than the broom and dustpan strapped to his back. The city stirred awake, car horns breaking through. The haze but his own world shrank to a single thought. Those 4 words, meet me tonight. Jay James, the man who spoke of a future beyond silence and secrets, was waiting. But so was his mother. Her prayers for a righteous path still echoed in his head. Growing up, Elijah learned to stay low, because in a neighborhood where church ruled and judgment came fast, standing out was more than hard. It was dangerous. Her voice rang sharp from the night before. "You're drifting, Elijah. God sees everything." She had no idea about the late-night drives with James, the quiet corners of hidden bars, the steady hand on his shoulder that felt like a lifeline. He'd nodded, buried the truth, and walked away from the table with her disappointment burning inside him. Now, as he pushed open the first gate on his cleaning route, the hinges screamed against the metal. The work was simple: sweeping leaves, hauling trash, taking small tips from strangers who barely noticed him. Yet it was more than work. It was cover, a chance to slip away and see James without suspicion. But today's shift carried a weight it hadn't before. The note wasn't just instructions, it was a challenge. Could he keep living in the shadows? Or was it time to step fully into the light? As he swept dust across the patio, his phone buzzed. The glow of the screen showed James's name. 7 p.m. The usual spot. Elijah's chest tightened. James, 30, an attorney whose voice was as smooth as whiskey and whose confidence carved out new horizons, had been his hidden world for months. Their nights together felt far away from Compton's broken streets. With James, he wasn't just another kid from the wrong side. He was seen, valued, wanted. Last week, James had slipped a watch onto his wrist, its steady weight resting there. Now, a quiet vow of something greater. But vows could fracture, and Elijah could already feel the edges splintering. He wrapped up the yard as the sun climbed higher, heat pressing sharp against his back. Moving toward the next house, his phone buzzed again. "This time, Naomi, Mom's asking where you're headed tonight. Don't mess this up, Eli." The words struck deep. Naomi was the only one who ever covered for him, the sister who had spotted him sneaking in at 2 a.m. and stayed silent. But even she didn't know the full story. She thought it was nothing more than rebellion. If she knew about James, about the truth, would she still shield him? Elijah shoved the phone away, fingers tightening on the broom handle. The hours stretched long, every second a march toward James and the decision waiting there. He wanted to believe in the world James promised. Nights without disguise, a life where his mother's prayers didn't feel like shackles. But Compton had a way of holding on. So did blood. Sweeping the last of the leaves into a corner, Elijah felt the note in his pocket burn hotter. Tonight, he would meet James. Tonight, the choice would be made. The air felt heavy, clinging to Elijah, 25, as he pressed a creased note inside his pocket. Its ink was fading, but the message remained clear. "Meet me tonight, Jay." His chest thudded with both fear and longing. Every step on the fractured sidewalk felt like a decision. Stay hidden to keep his family's love, or risk everything for a chance at freedom. Today, he would face it all, even if it meant losing everything. The engine hummed low as James pulled from the curb, the city's neon, glow blurring into streaks of light. Elijah sank into the seat, his body worn from the day's labor, but James's presence steadied him like an anchor. Silence hung between them, broken only by James's hand brushing Elijah's knee, a small touch that spoke louder than words. It was their routine, moments stolen inside the car, shielded from Compton's sharp eyes. They ended up at their usual hideaway, a dim bar tucked into West Hollywood where the music was soft and nobody cared who walked through the door. James moved ahead with calm certainty, leading Elijah to a quiet booth. Here the air felt easier, free from his mother's stern prayers and Naomi's cautious reminders. James slid close beside him, shoulders grazing as he placed a drink in Elijah's hand. "To us," James murmured, voice smooth, raising his glass. Elijah tapped his against it, though the toast felt fragile, like the steady tick of the watch on his wrist. James painted a picture of what could be. Nights like this. Without shadows, a life lived openly. "We could have this every day," he promised, his fingers finding Elijah's under the table, gripping tight. Elijah wanted to believe. James, with his tailored suits and sharp mind, seemed to exist in a world where secrets didn't choke. He spoke of weekends in San Francisco, walking side by side without fear or second glances. Hope swelled in Elijah's chest, but unease clung close. Why did James always deflect when Elijah mentioned meeting his friends? As the night deepened, James leaned in, his breath warm against Elijah's ear. "You're different here," he whispered. "Free." And Elijah felt it too, the loosened shoulders, the laughter that came without effort. But when he asked about attending James's firm gala next month, James's expression faltered. "It's complicated," he muttered, eyes shifting away. "My boss, he's traditional. Let's not push it." The words hit Elijah hard, sinking like a stone in his gut. He forced a smile, nodding along, but the doubts grew sharper. Back in Compton, Elijah slipped in through the door just past midnight. The house was still, save for the faint hum of gospel music drifting from the kitchen. Naomi stood waiting, arms crossed, eyes sharp. "You're sneaking around again?" she said quietly, though her tone cut deep. Mom's asking questions. "Eli, where were you?" His throat tightened. The truth pressed against his chest, but the words stalled. "Just out," he muttered, brushing by. Naomi's gaze trailed him, heavy with suspicion. In his room, Elijah slid the watch from his wrist, staring at it. James's gift, once a symbol of promise, now weighed him down. He wanted to cling to the future whispered in dark corners, but doubt from earlier gnawed at him. In Compton, the rules were carved clear: family, faith, conformity. James offered escape, but at what cost? Lying in the dark, the folded note still. Tucked in his pocket, Elijah felt the tug of two worlds. One offered love, fragile and uncertain. The other offered safety, but only if he kept burying who he was. Then his phone lit with an image that froze his breath. James at a gala, smiling beside a woman in a glittering dress, a ring bright on her hand. The caption read, "Congratulations to the happy couple." Elijah's world spun. The watch on his wrist felt like chains. All those promises of freedom, of forever, turned to ash. Tonight, he would confront James. Tomorrow, he would face his family, no matter the fallout. Elijah stood frozen on the sidewalk, the phone's glow painting shadows across trembling hands. The picture seared into him. James polished, proud, wrapped around a fiancée he'd never mentioned. The watch that once meant hope now mocked him, cold and binding. He had believed James's words, believed in a shared future. Now the truth cut sharp. Betrayal, dressed in tuxedo lights and easy lies. He shoved the phone into his pocket and walked. Compton blurred past as his thoughts burned. By the time he reached James's apartment in downtown LA, his pulse was thunder in his ears. The door swung open. Surprise flickered in James's eyes before he smoothed it with a smile. "Eli, I wasn't expecting you." His voice was calm, but the edge was there. Elijah pushed past him, words spilling out. "Who is she, James? The woman in the photo? Your fiancée?" The accusation hung heavy, sharp. James's face tightened, though he didn't deny it. "It's not what you think," he said, stepping closer, hands lifted in surrender. "It's for work. My firm expects a certain image. It's only temporary." The excuse was polished, but it cut deeper than the photo itself. Elijah's chest ached with the weight of every memory. Their nights, their plans of San Francisco, now soured by that word, temporary. His voice cracked. "You let me believe we had a future. Was I just your secret?" James reached for him, but Elijah stepped back, the watch catching light as he lifted his hand. "You gave me this. Said it meant something." James's silence answered. For him. Elijah turned, slamming the door behind him. The city outside felt colder, its glow harsh. Back in Compton, another reckoning waited. His mother's voice struck the air the moment he entered. "Where have you been, Elijah? You're tearing this family apart." Naomi lingered behind her, eyes searching. He couldn't look at her. The truth he had buried for years surged out, unstoppable. "I'm gay, Mom." The words ripped free, shattering the silence. "I've been hiding it, but I can't anymore." The room froze. His mother's face hardened, her voice ice. "You're choosing sin over family. Get out." Naomi gasped, but said nothing as Elijah grabbed his bag, her eyes wet and torn. "You're selfish," she whispered, but her voice broke. The night swallowed him whole. James's betrayal, his family's rejection, both pressed hard against his chest. But beneath the weight, a spark burned. He had lost everything, yet he was done hiding. Somewhere beyond these streets was a place where he could belong, where he could breathe. He just had to find it. The motel bed groaned as he sank onto it, Compton's restless hum seeping through thin walls. His bag lay at his feet. The watch, still tight around his wrist, ticked on. Betrayal behind him, exile ahead. But also a glimmer of defiance. Cast out by his family, Elijah felt the world closing in. But a flyer slid under his motel door whispered of another chance, a place where people like him found strength. Could he rise again, or would rejection drag him back into the shadows? The motel bed groaned beneath him, the day's weight pressing hard. His mother's voice, "You're choosing sin," echoed sharper than James's betrayal. The watch, once hope, now stung as a reminder of lies. He had left James's apartment, left his own home, and landed here in a $50 room lit only by a buzzing neon sign. Morning came too soon. The city's noise dragged him awake. No calls from Naomi, no text from James. Just silence. But the flyer caught his eye again. LGBTQ+ support group, Hollywood Community Center, 2 p.m. His first instinct was to toss it. Trust had already burned him, but sitting here, drowning alone, was worse. The bus dropped him off by a small storefront tucked between a laundromat and a cafe. Elijah froze at the door, hands buried in his pockets. Inside, laughter floated, not judgment. A man his age with a warm smile and a name tag reading Kyle waved him in. "First time?" Kyle asked, steady and without pity. Elijah nodded, uncertain, but followed him to a circle of chairs. He listened as strangers spoke stories that mirrored his own: rejection, shame, resilience. Kyle, 28, an activist disowned by his family, spoke of finding strength in community. "They don't get to define you," he said, his words sinking into Elijah like lifelines. The knot in his chest eased. For once, he wasn't a sin or a secret. He was simply himself. That night, Kyle offered him a couch. A small act, but it felt like a bridge. In the days that followed, Elijah returned, stacking chairs, handing out flyers, helping wherever he could. The weight began to chip away. Then James called. "I messed up, Eli. I'm with her, but I need you. Please give me a chance." The words tangled him in hope and fury. He agreed to meet in a quiet park. James stood waiting, confidence dimmed, eyes searching. "I was scared," he confessed. "My firm, my family, they'd never accept us. But I want to try." Elijah's chest tightened, remembering nights of whispered dreams. But Kyle's words rang louder. "You can't live for someone who hides you." Elijah steadied his voice. "I believed in you, but I can't be your secret anymore." He unclasped the watch, pressing it back into James's hand. "I'm done waiting." Walking away felt like shedding old skin, raw, but freeing. The community center became his anchor. Weeks later, Elijah had moved from Kyle's couch to sharing an apartment with another group member. The work was small, organizing events, serving coffee, but it gave him purpose. One evening, he stood before newcomers leading his first session. He shared his story, James's betrayal, his family's rejection, the night in that motel when he nearly gave up. His words flowed easier than he expected, each one loosening what had bound him. Afterward, a teenager whispered, "You make it seem possible." Elijah's throat tightened. He was now the lifeline he once needed, but the past still lingered. As he left the rooftop one night, his phone buzzed. A message from Naomi. "I don't get it, Eli, but I miss you. Can we talk?" His chest clenched. She had called him selfish that night. Now, maybe, a door was opening. Kyle noticed his hesitation. "Family's tough," he said, hand on Elijah's shoulder. "But you don't owe them your truth. Let them come to you." Elijah typed back, "I'm here when you're ready." Send. Downstairs, the group was planning a pride event. The energy buzzed. Voices, laughter, possibility. James left another voicemail, talking about starting over. Elijah deleted it without listening. He wasn't that boy anymore. He was building something real. The center had given him more than shelter. It had given him himself. Stepping outside, the city lights gleamed against the night. His mother's silence still hurt. Naomi's text was only a start. But surrounded by a community that saw him, Elijah felt something stronger than shame. For the first time, he felt proud.